the cheesy buttermilk macaroni and cheese, whatever that is. Or if you're not like me and you're not a fan of the cheddar herb biscuit, I have got a transformation for you that is going to give you a result that has the texture of cornbread with zero corn. So let's have fun with Fuelings. Welcome to my channel. My name is Elizabeth. If you're new here, I'm living in the light by documenting my weight loss journey, and I'm using the Optavia 5-in-1 program. As part of the Optavia program, you eat 5 Fuelings, which come to you in your monthly Optavia box. Typically, they come in little envelopes like this that you add water to. You bake them, you shake them, you put them in the microwave, you do them in several different ways. But those are the 5 of the things that you eat evenly spaced throughout the day in 2 to 3 hour increments. Now, if you are also like me and you've been on the program for a while, you get bored with the same flavors all the time. So I like to take 2 or 3 of the Fuelings and combine them together and then separate them back into 2 or 3 Fuelings depending on how I do it. But it just changes up textures, it changes up flavors, and it keeps the monotony at bay in the program. Before I show you how to do this, would you scroll down really quickly, give me a thumbs up, give me some love. Let me know that you like this kind of content. It just feeds my soul when I see those thumbs up on my videos. It really does help me to be more successful on my program when I know that there are people who are following along and who are cheering me along this journey. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button, and that way you can be notified if you want to or not when I post new video, which happens a couple of times a week. For this particular transformation, you are going to need the Buttermilk Cheddar Herb Biscuit. Now this has been discontinued. They still have some left, so if you have these hanging around or you want to snatch up a couple of boxes before they're completely gone, I would encourage you to do that. So you're going to need one of these, and you're going to need a packet of the Cheesy Buttermilk Cheddar Mac. Even the new one that they supposedly did, I'm not a fan of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my NutriBullet and I'm going to dump the macaroni and cheese into the NutriBullet. And I am going to pulse this several times until all of the macaroni is basically pulverized back into, mostly into powder again. There will still be some little bitty chunks in there, and that's okay. So I'm going to do that, and then I will be back. Okay, so what I like to do is take just a pastry brush so I can get the powder, because there's going to be powder accumulated on the base, and then I can dump this in here. And again, I'm going to have to brush down the sides of this because it does like to get congregated. So if you don't have one of these little pastry brushes, get one. I've tried the silicone brushes and they don't work quite as well as the ones that actually have the bristles to them. And I don't know if it's just because it's winter, but the static is crazy. I'm gonna just put a drop of water in here to see if that'll help to get rid of some of the static. No, it's still staticky. I've done this with a spice grinder, coffee grinder. That works really well as well. So do whatever works well. If you've got a small food processor, you want to try to do that. You just want to be able to break down the pasta so that you don't have big pieces of pasta. And before I mix in this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 4 tablespoons of water, it's 1/4 cup of water, and I'm going to mix that in. If I can get some of this other powder up. Probably not. Okay, so I'm going to mix this all together, It's a 1/4 cup of water. I'm gonna end up adding a little bit more water to this when I add the biscuit mix, but what I wanna do first is allow that pasta that I just broke down to hydrate a little bit before I start the baking process. So the best thing I can do is mix in some water and stir it up. Try to get everything as coated and covered and well mixed as I can. And then I'm just gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes. It shouldn't need very long. It's gonna end up baking as well. And I don't have any big pieces of pasta in there. It's broken up fairly well. So I'm gonna let this sit for just 10 minutes. And then I'm gonna come back and show you the next step. Okay, I'm not sure if I said I was doing this in the oven or not. I'm actually doing it in the air fryer. So that's gonna happen here in just a minute. So I have been letting this sit for 10 minutes. My next step is to take the Buttermilk Cheddar Herb Biscuit. And the reason why I don't add this with the water, first of all, is because this has leavening agents in it. Because it's a biscuit and they want it to rise. And if you let it sit for too long, then once you add water, that's gonna inflate till the gases are gonna start working, and then it's gonna be deflated and they're not gonna puff up. And one of the reasons why I like to do this in the air fryer is these puff up so nicely and they're so fluffy on the inside. And I swear to you, they have the same texture as cornbread and they're a little bit yellow. So it will make you feel like you're eating cornbread if you happen to be a big fan of cornbread. So I'm gonna dump this in, and then I'm gonna start out with just about 2 tablespoons of water. I don't want it to be too thick. So I'm gonna give myself about 2 tablespoons of water, mix these together. If you're not a fan of the buttermilk cheddar herb biscuit, whatever it's called, I've heard that people sift out some of the herbs from it. So you could try that if you're not a huge fan of it. I actually like the herbiness of it. So I leave that in there. Yeah, those 2 tablespoons is perfect consistency. It's really kind of like a thick cake batter. So that's a perfect consistency. I want to make sure that I have the same amount in each one because remember I started with 2 Fuelings. I want to go back to 2 Fuelings. So I'm going to use my scale to help me make sure that I get these done evenly. So I take a ramekin, put it on, put some of the mixture in, what looks like about half, and this is just a guess. That says 2 1/8. I'm gonna set that aside, put that on, zero it out. So I'm gonna shoot for 2 1/8 and see how much I have left. There's 2 1/8. So I bet I can do, see what that does. That says 2 3/8. So this should be still 2 1/8. That says 2 1/2. Get just a tiny bit more and then we'll see what happens. All right, it's still at 2 1/2. A kitchen scale like this that is digital, that does ounces and grams, is just an invaluable tool. You really need to have one. You should be weighing your vegetables before you eat them. So if you're eating them raw, you should weigh them raw. If you're going to eat them cooked, I have been told that it doesn't matter whether you do the raw weight or the cooked weight. The nutritional difference is negligible. I like to weigh them cooked if I can, but yeah, that doesn't always work, and I'm not going to digress into that. So 2 1/2 ounces is what I ended up with. I'm going to put these in the air fryer, 375 for 15 minutes, and then I will come back and show you what they look like when they're all finished. Here's what I did. I cooked them in the air fryer, 375 for 7 minutes, and then, or 8 minutes. I pulled them out and I flipped them over in the containers so the bottom could brown and the top would not brown too much. And they are finished. They are cooked through. I'm going to get the camera and bring it over here and break one open so you can see what it looks like. But what's really great about these, makes a great snack, makes a great fueling. And then what I like to do with these also in the morning is to take the one that I'll have left over and cut it in half and then put it in the toaster oven and get it a little toasty and crunchy. And it satisfies that need for toast once in a while. It's got so much flavor. And like I said, because of the pasta in there that's cut, into little pieces, it does have a little gritty texture, which kind of reminds me of cornbread. Super delicious. I hope you'll give this a try. Hopefully you've got some of those cheddar herb biscuits or whatever they're called, the Italian herb buttermilk biscuit things, and you can give this a try. Let me know in the comments box down below if there are some fuelings that you want me to try to transform, to change into another direction because you're tired of eating them the way that they are. And give this one a try again. And until I see you next time, please live in the light.